guys, it is the Spooky Month! Booga booga! And since Halloween is quite literally a few days away by the time this video comes out, I know everyone is probably looking for a good spooky movie or two to grab their attention. When I grew out of trick-or-treating, horror movie double features became my go-to. I don't think I've explained my infatuation with horror films on this channel yet, so just real quick, when I was a very young Dirk, I hated horror movies. Absolutely hated them. I always got scared, I always had nightmares, but I always had a weird fascination with horror film box art on the VHS films back at Blockbuster. Probably dating myself with that, but hey, who cares? It's the internet. My parents actively watched films like The Ring or The Grudge, and eventually I got into franchises like Nightmare on Elm Street and Hellraiser, and my fascination started to grow. I watched tons of classic old films, from werewolf movies to zombie classics to strange choices like The Birds and even Sweeney Todd. Took me a bit to realize that I was missing out on everything. I started watching even weirder choices like Strange Circus or House, and random films on sci-fi and chiller channels like Splinter and Rest Stop, among so many others, both good and bad. Horror fascinates me more than any other genre of film because of how wildly creative it can be and how easy it is to screw up. No matter the subgenre, horror is always incredibly easy to mess up the execution, either by being too silly or going too far or not going far enough. And that's how I still enjoy it today. So, since I'm such a sucker for horror, I figured, hey, let's make a recommendation list for Halloween. But I didn't want to do the standard top 10 horror films. Given cinematic horror has so many subgenres, I decided to grab a handful, 13 to be exact, and list some movies I haven't reviewed on the channel yet for your decision making. Hopefully you find something good in here. I'll only do a relatively small amount of subgenres to keep this video from being too long, so hopefully you'll be interested in one or two of them. Also, because horror movies are horror movies, a lot of these films will straddle multiple genres, so I'm not going to have like a demonic by itself when I do Possession, but I'll do my best to split them out relative to the main genre. Also, I'm sticking with relatively newer films, for the most part, that aren't talked about often enough, so hopefully you'll have something in here that you haven't seen before. Okay, let's get this viewing party started. Starting subgenres off, I figured we'd go with the absolute classic zombie movie. Now, what makes any zombie film good are the zombies themselves. Being unique and interesting by themselves is paramount to the success of the film, outside of human threats and interactions. And for this reason, I chose two films. The first is Ravenous, or Les Affamés in its native French. This film is a slow burn zombie flick taking place in Quebec, following survivors as they try to survive in the woods. And what is most impressive is the zombies themselves. Being incredibly unique, some will chase, some will watch, others will lay traps or just smile at survivors walking by. Most will build these incredible towers of junk and crowd around them religiously. It's an amazingly atmospheric film that again is a slow burn, so don't expect a lot of action here, but instead very slow and building emotion. Ravenous, aka Les Affamés, can be viewed on Netflix right now. For a more standard zombie film, I also include Cargo, which is also available on Netflix and stars Martin Freeman. Cargo is emotionally driven, following Freeman's character as he tries to find salvation for his infant daughter before he is slowly consumed by another unique zombie virus. Taking place in Australia and dealing with native indigenous populations there, this film has a wonderful message and a dark tone that will certainly stick with you. Sticking with classic horror themes, now we have slashers. Now these are harder to place as well. Slashers are generally harder to make effective. It's easier to mess up and be silly, so something would need to take the premise and ramp it up to make it truly unique, being either self-referential or more tongue-in-cheek or just serious. Bring in these two flicks. First, we have Terrifier, which is actually a 2016 sequel to a segment from the 2013 anthology film All Hallows Eve, but stands well enough on its own, introducing the world to the silent Art the Clown and some ridiculously brutal and gory deaths. There's actually a sequel available in some theaters right now. I haven't seen it yet, given its nearly 2.5-hour runtime, but according to reviews, it's just as gory and depraved as the first. Terrifier is available on Tubi and the Roku channel and a few other lesser-known streaming services. As for the second movie I want to recommend is one called Maniac. It's a bit of an unconventional slasher from 2012 that stars Elijah Wood, believe it or not, as a troubled serial killer, with the premise being the entire movie is shot from his literal POV. It's wildly creative and worth a watch. It's also a remake of an older one, but still, it's good. Maniac is also available on the Roku channel and also on Amazon Prime. Sticking a bit close to the slasher genre, we have home invasion films. This subgenre is a bit more unique and focuses almost entirely on the very real fear of people breaking into your home to get you. First up I want to recommend is Game Over, a 2019 film out of India about a wheelchair-bound game developer with PTSD who must protect her home from invaders. This one has a bit of a supernatural flair, but the acting is superb and the twists are fun. I won't say any more to spoil it, so give this a watch if it sounds interesting. Game Over is currently available on Netflix in a variety of languages. The second film I want to recommend might be a bit more widely known, as it is by my current favorite horror director Mike Flanagan, and that is 2016's Hush. Hush also follows a disabled woman living alone as a serial killer attempts to enter and toy with her. Being deaf, she has to think outside of the box and outwit a danger that she can't hear coming. Wonderfully creative, more grounded in reality, and just a ton of fun to watch. Hush is also available on Netflix right now. Check it out. After following Hush, I think it's important to stress that some films can be scary without needing the supernatural elements. People can be horrifying, and the lengths some people can go to can be even worse. And for that, I recommend 2018's Unsane. This film follows a troubled woman after having escaped an abusive, obsessed stalker who is accidentally committed to a mental institution against her will. What follows is a desperate attempt to show her sanity. This film is strikingly realistic to anyone having to go through a similar situation and escape from a stalker. There's a cameo that talks about fortifications for her home, her job, how to handle social media. It's honestly a lot to realize and very, very scary to go through. Also, fun note, this entire film was shot on an iPhone, just to hammer home the stalker vibe. Seriously, it's very interesting just for that alone, and how things are shot further back, like someone is watching the main actress from around a corner. It's really cool. Unsane is currently available on Hulu. After Unsane, I think psychological horror is a good route to go down. And for that, I have one film I desperately want to recommend that people have talked about, but it's so good. That is 2020's The Night House. Probably my favorite horror film out of 2020. This film stars Rebecca Hall in a performance of a lifetime. She's truly amazing. I cannot stress that enough. Her character is desperately searching for answers and understanding after her husband's sudden suicide. She ends up discovering secrets about him in a hidden house on the other side of the lake, and things quickly devolve. It's a wild story that really hits hard if you connect with it. I don't want to spoil it. There's a lot here, and just the emotional acting from Rebecca Hall is something to be seen. Really, really good here. There are plenty of other psychological horror films out there, but this one, at least in my opinion, deserves your attention and viewing. The Night House can currently be watched on Hulu as well. Now after that, let's get back to horror movie basics with a fantastic creature feature. I've mentioned it before, but I'm finally able to recommend 2019's Sweetheart. Sweetheart is a fantastic survival creature feature set on a deserted island.
Castaways, we are castaways.
A woman washes up on shore after some accident and discovers that a monstrous shark creature comes out at night hunting for prey. There's a lot more to it, but this is still fantastic and more people need to watch it, especially given the practical monster suit and deeper metaphors as to why the film is even called Sweetheart. There's very important reasonings to that, and it's so smart. The metaphors are just, they're very smart. The acting is extremely solid, and it's just a great time. I don't want to spoil more, but again, it's really damn good. Go see it. Sweetheart is currently available on Netflix. Now, plenty of other creature features tend to include some comedy, like the Critters franchise or Gremlins, but Scare Me from 2020 doesn't really have any creatures at all. However, it is incredibly unique and comes from the wonderful comedic mind from College Humor's Josh Rubin. Scare Me follows Rubin's character as a down-on-his-luck horror writer taking a cabin vacation to get some writing done, only to meet up with another famous writer in Aya Cash's character. During a power outage, the two try to outdo each other by telling each other scary stories. It's unique, imaginative, and honestly, pretty damn funny. Josh Rubin actually had another directorial go in 2021's slasher comedy Werewolves Within, based on the game of the same name. I haven't seen that one yet, but the reviews are pretty positive, so I plan to eventually. Scare Me is currently available on Shudder, the Roku channel, and Amazon Prime, while Werewolves Within is available on Paramount Plus, the Roku channel, Showtime, and Hulu. Now, comedy usually goes hand in hand with animation as well, and while that is certainly the case in some forays into animated horror like Coraline or Paranorman, I like it when serious horror is told in a medium that people generally don't react to with horror, and for those, I chose these two extremely unique films. First off, we have The Wolf House, or La Casa Lobo, a 2018 stop-motion film in Spanish and German, following a woman escaping a cult and hiding out in a house with two pigs. It gets dark, it gets twisted, and the visuals are spectacular. Characters will literally be painted on the walls, in the foreground, created out of paper mache, take up entire rooms. It's astounding the work that went into this, and it all looks amazing. This is something that took months to get through. It's one of my movies that reaches a 9 or a 9.5 out of 10. Seriously, it is just that good from the visuals alone. The Wolf House is currently available on Shudder, the Roku channel, and Amazon Prime. Don't let it pass you by. Secondly, we have Bird Boy, The Forgotten Children, a 2015 2D animated film from Spain, but also dubbed in English. This is a unique tale following anthropomorphic animals on an island trying to escape their lives and free the titular Bird Boy from a demon living within him. It's incredibly dark, has some wildly disturbing scenes. Oh, the one with Zacharias' mother, oh my god. And yet has some gorgeous visuals and a very clever message. I'm probably going to do a longer review video on this particular film eventually, just because it needs to be seen. Check this one out. Bird Boy, The Forgotten Children is currently available on Shudder, the Roku channel, and Amazon Prime. And from animation, we go to another classic genre, possession. First off is one you may not have seen, which is 2019's The Cleansing Hour. This follows two entrepreneurs who stage exorcisms on live stream to make bank. They suddenly get more than they bargained for when a real demon shows up and possesses one of their girlfriends. It's fun, it's gross, has some really inventive scenes. It is just a good time. There's a lot that goes into this that I really wasn't expecting. I thought it'd be more of a comedy, but no, it's a little more serious and grounded and has some fantastic makeup work and just a lot of stuff that goes on. This one will definitely stick in your mind for a while. I wouldn't really call it the scariest film I've ever seen. It's fun and does its job wonderfully though. Give it a watch. Cleansing Hour is currently available on Shudder, the Roku channel, and Amazon Prime. My second recommendation is probably one of my favorite possession-focused flicks of all time, and that's 2014's The Taking of Deborah Logan. This film follows a film crew's footage trying to document a woman going through late-stage dementia, only to discover that something else might be affecting her as she starts to behave rather strangely and a bunch of other stuff happens. It's crazy. It's heartbreaking and disturbing and has some amazing acting from the leads, and especially from Jill Larson as the titular Deborah, who the stuff she had to go through as Deborah is just ridiculous. She did such an amazing job. It's some seriously good work that stuck with me since its release. The Taking of Deborah Logan is currently available on Shudder, the Roku channel, and Amazon Prime. Deborah Logan also was situated squarely in the found footage genre, so let's move on to that one. First off, we have probably one of the scariest haunted asylum films since Grave Encounters, with 2018's Gonjiam Haunted Asylum from South Korea, following a group of kids intent on making it internet famous with a live stream from the asylum itself, only to be trapped within and accosted by ghosts and other creatures. It's creative, has very scary ghosts, and messes with perception, maybe a Blair Witch reference sequence or two all over here. It's all you could want from a great found footage film. Seriously, it's really good. Gonjiam Haunted Asylum is available on Shudder, YouTube, and the Roku channel. After that, let's head down to the other hemisphere with 2011's Australia found footage faux documentary creature feature thriller, The Tunnel. Yeah, I know that's a lot of genres, but I'm putting this under found footage because that's what it primarily is. Sue me. The Tunnel follows a film crew and their subsequent interviews following an expose on the homeless population in the subway tunnels below Sydney, only to discover something else is down there. I find it odd that the two Australian found footage films I've seen, this and Lake Mungo, are both set up as faux documentaries. It's interesting. Now, unfortunately, The Tunnel is extremely hard to find. It is available on Amazon Prime, but not in America at least, so you might want a VPN. I hesitate to suggest pirating, but that seems to be the only way to view it properly, sadly. Find it if you can, it's well worth it, especially since the documentary angle gives it more of an air of believability. Moving on, I wanted to include VHS 94 originally for the found footage subgenre, especially since it has another sequel out this month titled VHS 99, but I figured it was a bit too well known a franchise to be properly included, and I'm definitely going to review VHS 99, most likely, unless I've done it already. So now, under anthology, I think it is a bit too well known, so instead I'm throwing out the movie Terrified, also known as Atorados, from 2017. This is a slight anthology film from Argentina. I'm kind of cheating here, but it still is technically an anthology film. Set in Buenos Aires and following multiple strange happenings around a small neighborhood. It's gory, remarkably creepy, has some incredible scenes and ideas that mess with creatures only being able to be seen at a proper angle. It's a lot of creative stuff here, and it's getting a sequel. Yay! Definitely give this one a watch. Terrified is available on Shudder and Amazon Prime. Now I need to go to a more gross out genre, because who doesn't like gross out gore and other stuff? Come on, body horror. Now there aren't a lot of body horror movies that are, well, good. Most are gross out for gross out's sake, or too classic to be included, like The Fly or literally any other Cronenberg movie. Looking at you, Crimes of the Future, that I haven't seen yet, but I know exactly what you are. So instead of, say, Nick Cage's 2019 film Color Out of Space, available on Shudder and Amazon Prime, I thought I'd include a classic that has stuck with me for a while, 2014's Starry Eyes. This is a slow burn body horror about an actress looking for her big break, and instead finds her body and personal relationships starting to break down after pressure from executives. It's messed up. It's a messed up slow burn with deep metaphors and a deliciously dark ending. It's also ridiculously gross watching this girl just decay on screen for days. It's fun. Check it out on Amazon Prime and the Roku channel. And finally, that brings us to our final subgenre for this video, international horror. Yeah, I get it. It's a bit of a catch-all that it can include anything, but screw it. It's my recommendations, and these are fun films. First off, following the body horror, we have The Queen of Black Magic from 2019 in Indonesia and 2021 in the US. This is actually a spiritual sequel to a film of the same name released in 1981, following same characters and other stuff that I can't spoil. It's messed up, features incredibly disturbing visuals, and hey, magical torture scene. Because of course, who doesn't like torture porn? Both can be viewed on Shudder and Amazon Prime. Check them out, seriously. And finally, that brings us to the last movie I'm recommending today, May the Devil Take You from 2018. Another Indonesian film following a girl trying to unveil the secrets of her father's estate with her family after he becomes ill with a strange illness. It has amazing gore, wonderful acting, a fun story, and some genuine twists. Seriously, it's a 9 out of 10, and I recommend it a lot. And often. It even has a sequel titled May the Devil Take You 2, released in 2020, which isn't quite as good, but it's still extremely solid. And the directors even announced that there's a third film in the works. Honestly, this just might be Indonesia's version of the Conjuring franchise, but much, much more gory. This one is a bit mixed up though in its availability. The base movie I'm recommending is available on Netflix, while the sequel is currently available on Shudder and Amazon Prime. Hopefully they'll be reunited by the time the third film is released and easier to view on at least one platform. And with that, we've reached the end of my recommendations. I hope there's something in here for all of you to enjoy and maybe something new to discover. I mean, I did just list, 20 plus films, so there better be. Overall, the important thing is to have fun with it, get a good spook going. Hopefully you find something new. Let me know. Happy Halloween, guys. Hey guys, just doing the wrap up here. Finally just realized how much I listed in here. There's so much. And there's still other really good movies and classics out there that I didn't mention, but I hope you guys like horror movies as much as I do. There's a lot going on here, and this is just a lot of fun to talk about and do. Hopefully this video isn't too long. I haven't edited anything yet when I'm recording this, so we shall see. Comment down below, have you seen any of these films? Which one's your favorite? Do you think any of them suck? Do you think I'm wrong and my opinions are awful? I don't care. Let me know. Just be nice, I guess. Yeah. Don't forget, like, subscribe, ring that bell so you don't miss a video. And that's it. Have a happy Halloween, and if you're not, have a better one. Turn one of these on. See ya.
I'm just a ghost in your stereo. The fading memory of a shipwreck in the undertow. You're just a lost summer. And I'm just a ghost in your stereo.